I would just look in the mirror and every day I would just tell myself how ugly I was and I would just start crying. We live in a world where looks hold a lot of weight. It just does. Pretty privilege is real. It's never about being acceptable to you and what feels right to you. It's what is acceptable to a man so that way he can pick you and choose you. It's a wonder why there's a lot of self-hate. I remember watching this video where a woman with locks was told by another woman, if you want to get the type of man you're looking for, you need to change up your look. Why do we have to change our look just to be accepted by society, to be loved by a man, to accept ourselves? You never see videos where they're telling the man, hey, in order to get this woman, you need to change your look. You need to do this. You need to look a certain way. It's always on the woman. There's so much pressure out there. Why do we have to change our look in order to be accepted? Why can't we just be ourselves? So a message from a viewer named Gina stopped me in my tracks. So she responded to one of the forums I put out there for you guys to share your experiences. And it reminded me of how much deeper self-love is and how much we take it for granted. Self-love is not just about looks or compliments, but healing from the inside out. And honestly, I saw so much of myself in what she wrote. Let me read it to you. As a younger woman, I was told I have pretty skin and good hair, but it didn't do anything to really build up my self-esteem as a person. I still develop insecurities from toxic relationships and culture beauty standards. Soul care is what's been missing in many women. It's so much more valuable to have a beautiful mind, beautiful character, good mental health, the confidence that comes from within, rather than the external validation from what things look like outwardly. Okay, there's a lot to unpack here. So growing up, people always gave their opinions about my hair. We have to talk about it. And I always got attacked. You quickly learn how uncomfortable people are with very tight curls, whatever you want to call this, okay? People are very uncomfortable with tight curls. They're very uncomfortable that it does what it does. So much so that I'm sure a lot of you guys that are watching this can relate so much to this. My mom really didn't know how to do hair. She'd always put my hair in plaits. She'd always get it done by someone else. And when she had to get my hair done, guess what? I used to scream, and obviously she would lose patience. And she would always hit me with the comb. She would always hit me with the comb when I was not cooperating. And I remember growing up watching her perm my hair. Nothing's wrong with that because she had very long hair. And so I got in my mind, like at a very young age, where I was like, well, I want to perm my hair too. But when I got my hair permed for the first time, it was so nice. I remember looking at myself in the mirror in awe because I was like, oh my God, it's so straight and shiny. And guess what? It broke off because you quickly learn you have to know how to take care of it. Back then, I felt like parents would do things to their hair, but not know how to maintain it. It's not like today. More parents are educated on their children's hair. And I'm going somewhere with this. And so whenever I would see family or friends, they would always have something to say about my hair, and it usually wasn't good. And I don't know why they felt like they needed to tell their opinions. It never made me feel good. It always led me to feel like I wasn't good enough. And I think that was the start of me feeling not that beautiful. Feeling not accepted and just not fitting into society standards. It was so frustrating because it got to the point where I just didn't know how to do my hair. And I felt like whatever style I did was never like acceptable. And I got to a point where I would just look in the mirror and every day I would just tell myself how ugly I was and I would just start crying. Let's be real for a second. We live in a world where looks hold a lot of weight. It just does. Pretty privilege is real. There's real privilege and being considered attractive. People will treat you differently based on how you look because that's what we see. A lot of the videos that you see talk about dating and how to find the right man are all about changing your look for them to be acceptable to them. It's never about being acceptable to you and what feels right to you. It's what is acceptable to a man so that way he can pick you and choose you. It's a wonder why there's a lot of self-hate and people struggle with the way they look and all that stuff. because it always stems down to the core of how you look and your insecurities around that and your self-esteem. It affects everything. I remember watching this video where a woman with locks was told by another woman, if you want to get the type of man you're looking for, you need to change up your look. And I get it. There's nothing wrong with wanting to switch things up. We all like to feel attractive, and I get it. Based on your look, you're going to attract different types of men. I know that. Different men are going to be attracted to you based on how you look. And every woman's going to attract different types of guys. Fair. But the problem I have with this is, why do we have to change our look just to be accepted by society, to be loved by a man, to accept ourselves? You never see videos where they're telling the man, hey, in order to get this woman, you need to change your look, you need to do this, you need to look a certain ways, blah 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 blah. It's always on the woman. There's so much pressure out there, and I'm not against like you changing your look to attract whatever you need to attract, because I know there's gonna be someone saying, yeah, but they can't, you need to attract it because the guy's the one that has to choose you. I get it, but it's like, why do we have to change our look in order to be accepted? Why can't we just be ourselves? There's just a lot of pressure to be accepted. And that's a part of the problem of where self-hate is stemming from. We feel like we need to look and act a certain way. And even as I'm talking about this, guys, it sounds exhausting just talking about this. And then when it doesn't meet our expectations, and it doesn't happen the way we think it should happen, we get frustrated with ourselves, and then guess what happens? We start beating ourselves up because we're not looking like the next person, or we're not looking like how we think we should look based on what society says. Because remember, people like to give their unwanted opinions. There's a lot of mean people out there, unfortunately. And this is where the dissatisfaction starts. The comparison. Ooh, the comparison. Self-hate a lot of times comes from you comparing yourself because you're looking at all the things you don't like about yourself, and you're looking at the things that you like about what you see the next person has, and then you start to dislike all the things about yourself that you feel the need to change. You just get into this deep hole where it just turns into hate eventually, because you know what, you're like, I hate my nose, I hate where the way my hair looks, I hate how I don't have straight hair like Becky, I hate how my hair is not curly enough, it's not thick enough, it's not dense enough. I hear it all. I hear how my hair looks beautiful and makes me look young. What? You want to look old? And the next question I would have is, what is actually acceptable? What type of hairstyle will make you look age appropriate? When I hear people say that, I'm like, dang, we are so hard on ourselves. It's crazy to me. Now let's go back to what Gina was saying. She talks about how even though people would tell her she has good hair and pretty skin, she still felt empty. That right there proves no one can convince you you're beautiful if you don't believe it. In Gina's case, from what I read from it, is she fit the beauty standards. And I like how she wrote into filling my form, which you should fill out too to share your own experiences. But anyways, I like how she shared this because you're seeing the other side of it. And that's what I like. I like that different perspective because she's coming from a person who fits the beauty standards. External gratification is never enough if you don't have internal gratification. Honestly, there are women watching this right now who are darker skinned and probably feel like they're not beautiful because society keeps saying otherwise. Colorism is real. I've seen people bleaching their skin to meet some twisted standard to feel beautiful, to fit in. I grew up watching music videos on 106 in Park. Most of the women were light skinned. They were gorgeous. So what did I do? I would compare myself to it. I would watch it and be like, man, like I want to look like them. Like I want to be beautiful. And I would imagine myself like changing the way I look. I had a big imagination. And all that did for me was made me feel so ugly and insecure. That's all it did. Because the more I looked at them as gorgeous, the less I would look in the mirror and I would not see anything beautiful, because in my mind, I saw what was really beautiful and I didn't see myself like that. I'm just sharing my personal experience. I'm not invalidating anyone because I understand we all go through it. The plain fact is, if you don't find yourself beautiful, no one could prove that to you unless you prove that to yourself. For me, things shifted once I gave my life to Christ. at a very young age. I stopped watching those type of music videos. If anything, I stopped listening to that type of music, secular music. And I stopped feeding my head with images that made me feel less beautiful. And guess what? My self-esteem started to rise. Now, this wasn't an overnight thing. This wasn't, oh, I went to sleep one night and the next day I felt beautiful. This happened over time where I started to notice it after a while, and I was like, wait, I don't have that feeling. I'm not feeling like I'm not beautiful anymore. Eventually it got better, but I noticed that once I became more mindful of it, things began to change. Sometimes it's not even you. Self-hate stems from something else. Something influenced you to feel the way you felt by yourself, and then it spirals. It's a thing that you're watching, what you're consuming. And once I became more mindful of that, things began to change. I used to only take pictures of parts of my body where I would hide my face full blown. Like, I would just take a picture of like parts of my body. When I would take full body pics, I would cut out my face. It was the weirdest thing. That's how deep my insecurity ran. But there came a day where, as I got older, because this went through, even though I got better in seeing myself more beautiful, I still had the insecurity. It was still there because it takes many years to get to a point where you start to love yourself, unfortunately, because if you spent many years of self-hate, it's going to take some time to unpack. It came a point where, as I got older, I had to make a decision because I was starting a business and I had to put myself out there, and I was encouraged to put myself out there on social media. And I just told myself, you know what, I'm going to start doing full body pics and just embrace who I am and what I am right now. And I told myself, at the end of the day, people love real. People are not judging me as hard as I'm judging myself. We are our worst critics. We are the hardest on ourselves. We have to stop and take a step back and say, am I really as bad as I'm thinking? My biggest revelation was when I would look at older photos of when I was younger. And I remember thinking one day where I was like, dang, I didn't look that bad. I got flashbacks of those times when I was younger. And I remember thinking one day, I was like, man, I was so hard on myself because I looked beautiful. But back then I didn't feel like that. And I think that also played a part in me. That played a part in my healing process. I would encourage you, if you have old photos, look at those old photos. And I know sometimes people will be like, oh no, I didn't look as good. But no, really look at it. Man, like, I was really beautiful back then. You may have that revelation where you're like, man, I wasn't as big as I thought. Or something like that. It could be weight-wise, beauty-wise, and be like, man, I wasn't that bad. Like, I was so hard on myself. And it will really encourage you to be more nicer to your present and your future self. Something else that really surprised me was talking to women who actually fit the beauty standards. The one people call baddies or IG models. And you know what I found out? A lot of them struggle too with self-esteem, heartbreak, and insecurities. It made me realize that beauty doesn't protect you from self-hate. Having the beauty that everyone thinks is socially accepted, having that privilege where everyone thinks you're beautiful and top of the nines, it means nothing. It doesn't protect you. Confidence isn't about features and what's accepted. It's about how you feel. So having the features that is accepted has nothing to do with confidence. It's about how you're feeling in that moment about yourself, how you're treating yourself. These were friends of mine where I would go in deep discussions about this and be like, you're beautiful, so you probably get all this treatment and blah, blah, blah. And they had to bring me down to earth and be like, Nakia, I'm going through the same things. Because at the end of the day, they're women. They're going to go through what women go through. It goes back to Gina's comment when she said, people always tell me I have good skin and pretty hair. And I think what most people are ignorant to is they don't understand that you go through the same things, because hence what you shared, right? How you went through heartbreak and all this stuff. There's the other side where people don't understand that you go through it, and them telling you that doesn't help you. And so therefore they may not have the same grace, because in their eyes you fit the standards. You're not fitting in a box where they feel like you're not accepted. In their minds you're accepted. That's why they tell you that specifically. And that makes things more difficult for anyone, right? Because then you may not feel heard. Then you feel like you're not allowed to feel or act a certain way. And that's a very hard thing, because we all go through it no matter how we look. Deep down, you have to believe that you are truly beautiful. Even if you meet standards, no one can prove that to you. No matter how you look, no one could prove to you how beautiful you are unless you believe it. There's people who don't fit the standards, but they have so much like, confidence. When they walk, they capture the room because of how they feel inwards, how they feel from the inside. People see right through it if you're not confident. People see right through it if deep down inwards you're not feeling good about yourself. People see it. I believe that if you're feeling really good about yourself and you truly believe in yourself, and even if you're average, okay, and you don't fit the typical standards, you could walk in a room and every eye will catch you. Everyone would notice you because you just exude that confidence. I've seen actually people like that, where they just enter a room and they may not be the most good-looking socially people, good-looking people based on society, but because of their confidence and the way they carry themselves, you're just like, wow. And that's how you know it's something more inward, taking care of your soul inwards, like taking care of your soul and nurturing that soul. And I'm with you, Gina, and I'm sure everyone would agree with you if more people focused on themselves internally and just focused on being morally correct, being a great person, that would naturally outshine everything. Being very secure and being sure in yourself makes such a big difference. The more I worked on myself, the more people were attracted to my spirit, the more people want to be around me. The more people even like me, like socially being around me and having fun, more people inviting me out. The more people want to just be around your company. They can't explain why, but they just want to be around your company because you make them feel good. Because when you feel good inwards here, outwardly, you're going to make others feel good. It starts from here. And you said this thing too, which I thought was so deep, and more people need to talk about it. Your trauma and toxic relationships played a part in how you felt about yourself. I can't tell you how true that is. It plays a big part in how you see yourself. The first heartbreak can have you feeling like you are the ugliest person and have you beating yourself up and have you wondering why you made the decision that you did. Listen, it will have people feeling so low that when they come out the relationship, all of a sudden they feel free. When they let go of that toxic relationship, all of a sudden they see themselves differently. That's why you hear these relationships where the woman will be in the relationship and she wouldn't dress well, she would look all shabby, she would look all down, and then all of a sudden you'll hear the guy report that, oh, now she's looking real good and she lost weight and so and so. Trauma and the wrong relationships can just bring you down too. It plays such a factor in how you see yourself and how you feel about yourself. Words is another one. Words can be so triggering and cut so deep. It's about what people used to tell you. Now I'm at a point that if someone, because that was my biggest insecurity, was my hair, is if someone says something about my hair, I don't feel anything about it. Like, I don't feel a way about it. But back then, when I was younger, because of all the stuff I was dealing with, when someone used to say something about my hair and it was bad, I used to get really down about it. And it made me feel so ugly. I just wanted to go in a cocoon. I just wanted to hide. But now it's a different level. Now that I've grown to love my hair internally from here, and I know that my hair is beautiful, like nothing someone else says can faze me. This is why it's important to have people around you who's on your team and gets you and embraces your hair. What I love with my friends is they embrace my hair. They'll ask me questions about my hair, right? They show a genuine interest. That's what I like, having people who embrace who you are and really accept you for you. Not someone who's constantly critiquing you and tearing you down. We have enough of that in the outside world. And it's so important to protect your space because unfortunately a lot of people out there are not for you. They're there to make themselves feel better because they don't feel good about themselves. There's people that are waiting to just benefit from bringing you down. There's people out there who are just waiting to just tell you what they don't like about you, telling you what you need to change, telling you what doesn't look good because it feels good to tear someone down. Makes them feel better. It's very disgusting. This is why I always preach this. I never recommend someone to look for someone romantically if their self-esteem is down. Because there's people out there who is praying. There's people out there who want to get someone who is in a very vulnerable state because they're easier to control and they're easier to keep down and they can do as they please. The dating world is hard out there. And so if you don't have thick skin, they will eat you alive. And if you need someone to validate you, you will get crushed. Crushed, my friend. These men will have you thinking like you are the ugliest person and you're only good for one thing. Some people will have you thinking because you have boundaries that you are good for nothing. And what if you are not in the mindset to understand what they are doing? What if you're in a mindset where you don't understand how people are working when they give you these really mean comments? How do you brush them off? And that comes with really being secure in yourself. If you have an ounce of self-hate, and we all do, there's obviously stuff that we don't like about ourselves. And it's always going to be an ongoing journey where you're working on yourself and you're working to love things about you where you don't like so much. But it's a journey. And self-love is something that I've worked on for many years to get better, to get to the point where now I think I'm actually beautiful. And I know that I'm not socially acceptable in terms of standards, and I'm okay with that. It doesn't matter what other people think about me. What matters is how I feel about myself and what I think about myself. And I understand that God has made me beautifully and wonderfully made. I've been made in the image of God. I'm not made in the image of people. I'm made in the image of God. So what does God think about me? That's the only thing that matters. If people want to think, hey, Nikia's this and this is not that beautiful, that's on them. But deep down, I know I'm beautiful. And I'm okay with that. So Gina said this. She said, how could someone overcome self-hate other than the typical spa days and all the other things? And I think it was a valid question. It made me think, because I know a lot of people say to have self-love and to take care of yourself and treat yourself nice. And you're probably tired of hearing that. But hear me out here. Hear me out. It's not about the spa day. It's not really about the spa days and doing a face mask or getting your nails done, though those are very cute things. I'm a big believer in recommending to do things that you enjoy, that lights you up, that makes you feel good, especially on a bad day, when you're just not having it and you're like, God, this is not it. It's really about doing the things that reminds you that you are worthy. It's about creating that feeling where the days where you don't feel so beautiful, the days where you feel like crap, the days where you feel so dry, the day where you feel like, oh Lord, like I'm not liking this. It's about reminding yourself how worthy you are, reminding yourself, hey, I am loved. It's about reminding yourself that you deserve to be taken care of. When you do things that makes you feel good, you tend to feel good from the inside out. So think about it this way. If you continuously think negative about yourself, it's going to make you feel bad. You're not going to feel good about yourself. You're going to go down this rabbit hole and then start saying mean things about yourself. So doing things physically and getting yourself to do things that you enjoy, that makes your heart sing, will naturally start to make you feel good. Just like when you're in a toxic relationship, friendship, or romantically. Arguing all the time, feeling unseen, and never being reminded of your beauty in a romantic relationship. It starts to wear down on you because you wonder, do they think I'm beautiful? You start asking these questions. Do they find me still attractive? You feel like crap. That's why some people, they need that word of affirmation. Yes, you should know you're beautiful and think about that, but that's just the reality of it, right? If the person is never telling you you're beautiful, you're gonna start getting questions in your mind. You're gonna start going down this like rabbit hole of trying to find justifications or try to figure out, okay, why you're not saying that, and then you're gonna start thinking it's all you. So that's just how our mind works. It starts to go other places that it shouldn't. But on the flip side, okay, when a man treats you with kindness like a princess, affirms you, and makes you feel like you're the most beautiful woman in that room, in the world. Even if you don't see yourself that way, you start to believe it because you're like, dang, he makes me feel so beautiful. And his words create a feeling that sticks. Whether that energy is good or bad, the emotion it creates can have a powerful impact on you, on how you see yourself. We underestimate this. That's why you have to protect your space and watch who comes up into your space. And usually when you don't feel beautiful, notice I said feel, it's usually a feeling. It's the word that you would use is, oh, I feel. Because the truth is, it's not that you're actually not beautiful, right? It's not that you're socially not acceptable. It's how you feel. That's why it's attached to so much emotion. Once you don't feel beautiful, then your self-esteem goes down. You don't feel confident. You get insecurities, and it goes down this like hole. It's belief. Believing what you're seeing is beautiful, and how you're feeling makes a difference. Listen, I have some days where I'll wake up and I'll tell myself, oh man, I don't feel beautiful today. And those are the words I'll usually say, because I'll just wake up feeling not it. That's the reality of it. But like when I do it to myself, And the question you have to ask is, okay, how can I change this feeling? Because right now I don't feel beautiful. Sometimes it's like putting on some makeup on and like changing it up, putting some earrings on, because you'll be surprised. It's so powerful about how you feel. Like the other day I was talking to my therapist and she said this, what could I do to make myself feel loved? And I love that question. What can you do to make yourself feel loved? Because once you feel loved, how you feel about yourself will change. That question was just so powerful. And the more that you'll fight against that feeling when you feel like it, the more you have coping techniques, the easier it gets, right? Because automatically when you feel that way, you'll know, okay, I need to switch it up. I need to change it up. And you'll ask yourself questions. It gets easier. If you have to wake up every morning and tell yourself you're beautiful, do just that. Even if you flinch when you say it, even if you don't believe it and you're like, I'm not beautiful, and you just keep on declaring, I am beautiful. I'm made in the image of God. I'm beautifully and wonderfully made. Even if you look at your hair and you're like, Lord, my hair is so much work and it's so hard to do. You tell yourself your hair is beautiful, your curls are beautiful, your crown is beautiful. You have to remind yourself that you're beautiful. You have to be the one to remind yourself because no one else is going to remind you. You have to say it until you believe it. And I understand that there may be outside factors that plays a big part in this. And what it comes down to is your mindset and say, are you going to take this personally or are you going to just let that person, whatever they said, come in this ear and come right out the other ear? You have to make that decision. You have to get to that point where you're like, am I going to let this affect me or I'm going to just let it go? And I know it sounds cliche, but it really comes down to you putting the work into yourself and changing the story about yourself. No matter when someone else wants to give you a story, or better yet, no matter if someone wants to give you a narrative, are you going to control that? Are you going to let them create a narrative for you? Or are you going to create a narrative for yourself? I have to walk through this every day with myself, even with my body image. If you notice, I'm not a skinny person. I'm not. But I had to get to a point where I had to do things where I feel beautiful. Because the reality is that tomorrow when I wake up, I'm not going to be a skinny person. So it comes to a point where I have to learn to accept myself where I am right now. Because this is who I am right now. And what no one talks about, if you don't accept yourself now, even when you make changes to your body, you're not going to accept yourself. If you don't love yourself where you are right now, whatever your body image is at right now, then when you make those changes, you're going to have the same issues because you're still you. But I had to get to a point where I started doing swimming, aqua fitness, and pickleball, and just doing dancing, just doing things that made my body feel good and me feel good mentally. I had to get to a point where, oh, I know I need to make changes, but I love where I am right now. And I'm enjoying the journey where I am right now. I'm enjoying the process where I am right now. If you're always focusing on the changes that you have to make and you're not enjoying the now, like what's the point? Because it's so harsh if you're like always focusing on when I get here, I'm going to look good here. No, you have to say now, like always saying, oh, when I get here, I'm going to like myself. When I get here, I'm going to feel like I'm beautiful. The truth is that day is not going to come until you like yourself right now. You have to start now to love yourself as is, as you start to transform and as you change. It's never overnight. I feel a lot of women, especially in the natural community, around the mini twist movement. People will see the benefits because if you don't know, or like my type of hair really benefits from low manipulation, meaning that you're not touching it, you're not like touching it every day. You're just letting it be and letting it grow. It benefits from that. My hair thrives with me not constantly having to style it every day. But the first thing I'll hear women say, oh, but my hair is too short. And I would look at them and say, but you have to start somewhere. No one starts with their hair long like Rapunzel. And then I would share my experience. When I first had my hair done, I remember thinking, oh my god, my hair is so short. If I showed you a picture back then, okay, maybe I'll show it. My hair was so short. Like, it was like up here. I hardly could do anything. It was like above my hair. People were noticing. They're like, hey, your hair looks shorter. Because I went through a process where I had to do a curly cut to shape it out. And it was short. Like, I couldn't even put it like up. It was short. But you know what I started to do? Because I loved myself. And I understand that this is more of an insecurity, right? It's more of a self-love thing. Where I started to just be myself. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to dress it up with earrings. I'm going to use headbands. I'm going to put clips in my hair. Like, I'm going to make it my own. And the more I got to see people talk like that, I realized, like, a self hate issue. This is an issue where people are just not comfortable with where they are right now to embrace it. Because they feel like they're not beautiful, so they're like my hair's short, or they'd be like, oh, it looks like young for young people. What does that even mean? Because this is how God made our hair. This is how he's making our hair grow on our head. What does that mean? I hope you learn from this. The secret of getting over self-hate is learn to really embrace yourself and not try to be like anyone else. If you start embracing yourself, the self-love will come. That's all it is. And you start making yourself feel good. You start speaking and imparting to yourself good things. You'll see all the difference. It took me many years to the point where I could actually say I'm beautiful. Hey, I feel beautiful. Because that's what's important. Is saying I feel beautiful. I look, but I feel beautiful. And I'm still working on it day by day. But now I know it was never about the outside. It was always about what I believed about myself. If you're struggling right now, I want you to know this. Your beauty isn't up for debate. You are already enough. And if no one else told you today, you are beautiful just as you are. Let me know in the comments. Did you ever struggle with this too? And as you know, this is episode 3 of You're Not Alone. Let me know what you think about this episode. Bye.